Alright, so we have a Nintendo Switch that I paid $40 for. It did not say anything as to why it was broken. It just said for parts are not working, just the tablet, no joycon. So I have no idea what's wrong with it. I can assume that it probably won't charge or something like that. But let's look at the port under the microscope to see if we can see anything crazy in here. I mean, it's not the nicest looking port, I don't think, but it looks all right to me. So I think maybe it's safe to plug in our animator. Let's switch back to the camera. Let's I don't see anything. Let's turn it the other way. Actually, let's flip it over and then plug it in. And we get nothing. So I guess we'll take this apart and see what we see. So I've never taken one of these apart. I've taken the light apart, but not one of these. So when I have it apart, I will pick back up. Let's check the battery. Does the battery have any voltage? I don't think so. There's a fuse. Yes, I'm getting 5.2 volts at the fuse. Am I getting 5.2 volts here? I'm pretty sure I'm not. So I got 5.2 volts there. Oh, I'm not getting 5.2 volts there. I'll show you under the microscope where I'm talking about. So this right here should be a fuse, and I should be able to go on this side of, or this capacitor at a minimum, and I should be able to get 5 volts, but I do not. I get nothing. So I think the easiest thing to do would be to disconnect power and then switch back to, or switch to current mode, or as you were, resistance mode, and check the continuity of that resistor. That thing is open, dude. That resistor, or that fuse is open. Let's do a test. Let's do a test. We're gonna take a piece of wire and we're gonna jump that fuse, and we're gonna see what happens when we do that. All right, I think that's. Yeah, I don't think that's good. All right, let's plug the battery in and hope the battery doesn't explode. All right, battery's plugged in. I don't feel it getting abnormally warm. All right, let's plug it in. No way, dude. No way. It's charging. Or it's doing something. I don't see a battery indicator or a battery light. Shouldn't the battery indicator come on or something? Let's turn this over. It's definitely charging now. So I guess the real question is what caused the fuse to blow in the first place? Because it's definitely not doing anything. I don't know where the power is on this thing. Oh, here's the power. That was the volume. I don't hear anything. Well, is the battery charging? How do you determine whether the battery's charging or not? I know I can look at the thing and see, but yeah, I see the battery is at like 3.5 volts, but the battery was completely dead. So does the battery have to charge a little bit before the Nintendo logo comes on, or what? I don't know what the expected behavior is. I'm holding the power button, it's not doing anything. I hope I'm not damaging anything by doing this. Yeah, it's not cutting on or anything. Well, I'll leave it charging and then we will pick back up when I figure something else out. Alright, so when I measure this capacitor, I get 0 ohms. That could, from ground to either side of that is 0 ohms. So I am going to pull that chip off and then remeasure and see if the short's gone. So we'll go under the microscope and we will do that. Alright, so I don't know if the P13 is the issue or not. But on one side of this cap, I get on this side of this cap, I get 1.2 ohms with the P13 off. And on the other side, I get ground. And I'm not sure, I don't have another one, and I've never worked on one of these, so I don't know what the actual value is supposed to be in terms of resistance. That seems kind of low though, you know, but what do I know? Perhaps it's perfectly normal. I have got to figure out a way to get better at soldering because this is ridiculous. It's kind of difficult to do this type of stuff when you're awful at soldering. But I think that'll be okay for me to add some unleaded solder. Now my wick's stuck, bro. Alright, it looked like it flowed into place. Take the heat away. Press down. Can't tell if that's good or not. Let it set. Try to get rid of the big solder blob here in a second. Solder blob gone. No, they're not even close, dude. Not even close. Dude, I just do not understand the concept. I don't know what the deal is. Alright, so let's change tips again. Those do not look good. There's nothing for it. I'm just gonna have to reheat this chip. It's not on there all the way or something. That's not right. It's not. This is stupid, man. Alright, so it's been about 2 weeks. And I want to show you something. And the reason why it's been 2 weeks is because I got so frustrated. So absolutely frustrated with trying to solder that P13 USB chip on there that I finally just gave up. I just gave up. I knocked capacitors off. I had to reorder capacitors. But I want to show you where we're at with this thing now. There's my battery logo. And the Nintendo Switch is booting up. That is a beautiful thing. I don't think I have everything connected, so the touch probably doesn't work. Or at least I hope that's the case. But anyhow, so let's talk about what happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery. So give me a sec. I'll when I have the board out, I'll explain to you what my thought process was here. Well, here, I'll do it from right here. So initially, we figured out that we had a blown fuse. So I soldered a jumper wire in there to act as a fuse while I continued to troubleshoot. And then on the back of the board, I discovered a capacitor above P13 USB that was shorted. The capacitor wasn't shorted, but it was showing short on both sides, 0 ohms on both sides. So then I removed the P13 USB And then I was getting 0 ohms on ground like I'm supposed to on that capacitor, but I was getting 1.5 ohms on the other side of the capacitor. So with that being said, I'm like, I don't think that's right, you know? So I put the P13 USB as well as I could. I still don't think I have it on there properly, but I don't have a dock to or anything like that to test. But in any event, so then what I did was I injected voltage at that left side of that capacitor, and then I used the thermal cam, and then I saw that the M92 was getting hot. So it turns out that the M92 was what was causing that short. So I think the original P13, I think it was bad because with it on, I was reading zero ohms on both sides. So I think that P13 was bad, but then in addition to that being bad, the M92 was also bad. So I changed out the M92, which I find that to be a lot easier than that P13. But now the last thing I have to do is replace this fuse, remove that jumper wire, and then replace those missing components on the other side of the board. So, all right, so at one point, all of these capacitors I had moved off of their paths. I ended up losing this capacitor, or these two capacitors here, and these 200 k ohm resistors right here. I ended up losing all of that. And I put so much heat on this board just trying to solder. I just don't get it. I don't know how to make that joint. Like you can see right there, it's still not good. Those joints are still bad. And I don't know how to fix that. I cannot do it no matter which soldering tip I use. I mean, it might work. I don't know. I don't know if it will or it won't. I mean, I'm going to try to solder it again, but it's just nuts, man. I see the other dudes do it, you know, they're like, oh, well, you just do this. And I'm like, bro, that doesn't work for me, man. That's some hard stuff. So yeah, that's going to be the goal. You're just trying to find I mean, it's like the tip. It's like you need to find a tip that will go in there. But like this is too big for, I mean, it would work for here and on the other side, but it won't work for here. I don't know. I'll try this tip and see if I can get it to work properly. We will try it out. But I also have to solder those little teeny components back on there, and I'm telling you, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. Alright, I think that's on there. Dude, this is so hard. I don't know why I have such a hard time with it. I don't know if it's just takes practice and practice and practice and practice, but and then on top of that, I keep losing these little resistors. I waited for a long time for these suckers to show up. Let's hope we can get this on here. Dude, I did it again, bro. Alright. Oh my gosh, man, this is stressful. Such tiny little components. Like I need to remove that. Alright, now I need to find some 0201 capacitors. I got the values of these. They're supposed to be 0.1 microfarad. So the values of these, according to Tronics Fix forums, are 0.1 microfarad. My booklet has 100 nanofarads, which 100 nanofarads is 0.1 microfarad. Got to shift that decimal point 3 places to the left, you know what I'm saying? That's times 10 to the minus 6th. What's the best way to do this? You know what I think that would be to turn it like so. I probably should have done that other one first, huh? That would have gave me more room. I'm not going to push my luck. That looks pretty good. Now, the next step is how do I fix those joints around this chip? And I don't. This is the part that that's the wrong chip I'm putting flux on. So let's try to do this side with this tip. It's kind of flat on one end. And let's take some solder. So we're going to take this like so. Wrong chip again. This tip's not wanting to take any solder. I can't tell. Can't tell if that looks good or not. Oh, there goes that. Oh, bro, I can't tolerate this. This is ridiculous. The console is on. Touch is working. Yeah, I didn't know what part of this thing was the touch thing, but yeah, got Animal Crossing, Mario Party. I don't guess the family locks on. I don't know what that means, but I'll probably just reset it. And you know what? I wonder if I put my Zelda game in there. Right, I got Zelda Breath of the Wild. So where do you put that at? Oh, you know what? Oh, it's this thing, huh? Go in there like that. Yep, reads games just fine. Zelda popped up. So that's awesome. So yeah, so the only thing I have to do now is wait until tomorrow and hook up some Joy-Cons and then put it in a dock and see if that P13 is soldered well enough to do that. So when I get that done, I will be back. All right, as you can see, it is attached to the docking station. My buttons all work. If I go down to settings or something, I can click. So both of my Joy-Cons are working wirelessly. Let me switch back over to the camera. So the only problem that I still have is the right joystick here is not recognized when I click it down in there. So I don't know if that's a real issue or there's some resistors along those paths that I don't know, maybe they're out of tolerance or something. I'm not exactly sure, but to be honest with you, I'm so sick of working on this thing. I took it from not powering on, doing anything, to now it works except for that one Joy-Con rail. So I think for now I'm gonna take a break from this thing. So things that I've learned. Well, let's talk about the problems that this thing had. First thing was the fuse was blown. That's problem number one. So after I bypassed the fuse, it was then drawing current, but it still wouldn't power on. So then I started doing my resistance checks, and I figure out that I had a short on the cap above the P13 USB. So I removed P13, and the short changed from a 0 ohm short to a 1.5 ohm short. So I injected voltage at that 1.5 ohm short and saw that the M92 chip was getting warm. So I replaced the M92 chip, and it booted up. It worked. So and I watched a video, and I can't remember which video it was. It said, though, if you pull the P13 off and you're still getting a short, that your CPU shorted. And I'm glad that I didn't see that video until after I'd already figured out what was wrong, because I would have probably given up at that point and been like, okay, well, the CPU shorted. So in this case, ignorance is what helped me figure this thing out. But point being, if you have a situation like that and you pull the P13 off, if you think the CPU shorted, what's the harm in injecting voltage and see what gets warm? Or just replacing the M92 and saying, okay, well, maybe that's bad. But of course, that video I watched may have had a different error altogether, or a different type of short. So I'm not sure. But in any event, I didn't give up. I persisted, and I was able to fix this device. I got to tell you though, this soldering in a Nintendo Switch is horrible. It's the most awful thing. I mean, even after I'd already fixed it and I was trying to get the docking station, because initially it wouldn't dock. So I had to go back in and I had to redo the P13. And then of course I knocked off all the capacitors again trying to do that. So it's just a battle, man. This thing is a battle to work on. But hey, it's fixed. This is the first time I've ever fixed a Nintendo Switch, and I'm pretty tickled that I got it to work. I just need to fix that real thing. But anyhow, hopefully you learned something. Remember, if you're getting a short on the P13 on that cap, pull the P13 off. If the short doesn't go away and you don't have a thermal cam, what's the harm in changing out M92 as well, just to see if that's causing the short. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you in the next one.